Oh! Welcome back, and happy Halloween. I almost said the F word there, but I probably shouldn't because it's the beginning of the video. Happy frolicking Halloween. That's the face of person who knows what time it is. And it is Halloween book recommendation time. This list that I compiled, it's more Halloween themed than Halloween themed. Themes of like death and sex and blood and fear. These recommendations are more centered around those than like ones that are specifically for Halloween, specifically made to be scary. So let's get started. First one we have, this one is more so just a shout out because I don't expect you to go out and buy this unless you're that type of person. The Ghastly Crumb Tinies by Edward Gorey. This is a little picture book. Written and illustrated by Edward Gorey. And it goes through the letters of the alphabet in quite a interesting way, let's say. Edward Gorey is known for his morbid illustrations, and this is probably one of his most famous works. This is more so just a shout out to one of the kings of Halloween, Edward Gorey, that sad gay man. This next one is for those of you that out there that really enjoyed Knives Out. If you liked the movie Knives Out specifically, this is probably a great recommendation for you because I'm like 75-85% sure that this is actually the big inspiration for Knives Out, and this is The Westing Game. The Westing Game is very similar premise to Knives Out, but it is a little more mysterious and playful, if you can believe that. It's a very playful mystery, so immaculately well done, and I think that a Knives Out, its vibe, its themes, its pacing kind of really go along with this book. I watched a Knives Out and then I literally went and picked this up off my shelf to reread for the first time since I was a kid. So, you know, a group of people gather for the reading of a will and hijinks ensues. It's a great little read. It's a YA book, so it's a great one to read with kids. I gave it to my little brother last year and he read it for Halloween and he really enjoyed it. It's definitely a Halloween read for all ages. It's super enjoyable and just fits exactly the whimsy that comes along with Halloween. The classic. I'm sure you have heard of this one. I talked about another one of her books in my fall TBR video. We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. Over the years, I remember reading The Lottery, the short story, back in like the 3rd grade. And over the years, have come to just absolutely love Shirley Jackson. I think that her writing has such a mystery to it, such like an untapped and real mystery, like the mystery of a noise in the dark forest, not a mystery of the ghost in the hall. It's such like a real mystery. She really points towards the things in life that are actually scary. This one very much so about mob mentality, similarly to The Lottery. This just like was such a touching gothic story. It is about 2 little girls who live in a castle and take care of their decrepit, dying uncle and their alienation from the town around them. So it deals with a lot of those themes, and Shirley Jackson is just honestly one of my favorite writers. Her writing style just always captivates me. So now let's talk about this. This H.P. Lovecraft's The Hound and Other Stories by Gu Tanabe. It is a manga. I have a qualm because H.P. Lovecraft was like a really shitty dude. He just like sucked. So I always feel weird reading his stories. I don't know what it is, but like his shittiness is so pervasive in his writing that it's not something I can overlook all the time to enjoy necessarily. But This was actually one of his first works. He does At the Mountains of Madness, and is a 2-volume set, which I also own. They were very good, but I did find that I liked the short stories that he illustrated a little bit more. They are just illustrated H.P. Lovecraft stories, so they are perfect, all completely black and white, and very, 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 very scary. Obviously, H.P. Lovecraft is one of the horror gods for a reason, and it makes me feel so much better knowing that this illustrator, you know, gets credit and gets promoted in the same space where this loser H.P. Lovecraft does. I would also recommend At the Mountains of Madness. It was really great. I have both of them over there. I just didn't pick them up for this because this one is definitely better. Next, we have a classic. A true classic that I'm surprised is not on more people's lists. We have The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. I've always thought that Neil Gaiman was way better in the YA genre than he is in the adult genre. I'm not super well versed with his adult writing, but everything that I've read that's been for YA by Neil Gaiman has been phenomenal literature, modern classic, and everything that I've heard about adult Neil Gaiman does not portray that same thing to me. Take with that what you will. The Graveyard Book is great. It is about a boy who lives in a graveyard and is raised by ghosts. And it turns into a very beautiful story of like, what does it mean to be who you are in the past, and how the past influences you, and how you can bring the past forward to make, you know, and improve your quality of life. It's such a lovely book. It's so spooky, like, you know that pumpkin video with the guy with the pumpkin head and he's like, that is like the energy that this book gives me. That is just, it's so Halloween, it's so thoroughly about the dark side of things, and yet it's still whimsical, and it has its lighthearted moments, and it means something. It has so much value. So I really would recommend this one. Just amazing. Just so good. Okay, hear me out. I read this last year because my boyfriend loves Halo and he loved this book. And I was actually very impressed because in Halo all you get is Master Chief's perspective, right? But in here there is the perspective of other people, so everybody's played Halo. So you get to see the perspective of people that are attacked by the flood as they evolve. And it gets very spooky. It's in some ways spookier than the actual video game because I feel like it provides more details, like more reasons to be scared, because you know the specifics of everything. I thought it was really good, and it was a really easy read. It was very fun. I was very surprised at how much I enjoyed it. So if you're looking for something silly, goofy, fun, and you love Halo, maybe try this. Next, I know this might be a cardinal sin, but I have not read The Real Frankenstein, so do not ask me how this compares, but Frankenstein by Junji Ito. One of my favorites of his that I've read. I think I've read 4 or 5 of his story collections. So the first half of it is Frankenstein, which I think is amazing. The second part of it is a grouping of tales about Oshikiri, which are very early stories, I believe. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that. But it is a set of like 5 of his stories that are all about the same character. And the Chronicle is some of my favorite that I've ever written from him. It is so intriguing, and it has such an amazing purpose. So not only does the Frankenstein representation do great, made me want to read Frankenstein, and then I picked up Frankenstein and immediately put it down afterwards out of boredom. I'll get to it one day, but this was so enjoyable and such like an accessible version of Frankenstein. Not only that, has some of my personal favorite of his short stories that I've ever read. It's a hidden gem, I feel like, because it's in the back of the Frankenstein book, but it's some of my favorite of Junji Ito's that I've ever read. This book scared the shit out of me. That is why it's here. It has nothing to do with fall. It's a book set in the summer, actually. But I do not remember the last time that I read a book and was left feeling truly and genuinely actually afraid. That book is Leave the World Behind by Ramon Alum. This book is about a family who goes on vacation to an Airbnb when all service cuts out, and they begin to get the inkling that something has happened to society. The owners of the Airbnb then show up and are like, hey, this is our home, we're gonna stay here. It's this interesting dynamic of people that don't know each other and how people would react in an end of the world type of situation, how people would react with no communication methods. It is so well done, but because of that, it scared the fuck out of me. I will never read this book again. I will recommend it because I think it's a great book, but I will never be able to read this book again because I think if I do, I will be too scared. It will haunt me forever, even more than it already does now. So if you're scared of things like that, maybe stay away. But if you are not a baby bitch back ribs, Leave the World Behind by Ramon Alum. Amazing. Alright, the final one that I'm very excited for. This, let me know if any of you guys remember this book, because I feel like there are people that have the memory very prominently in their head, and then there are people that have no memory of this book whatsoever. Unwind by Neil Shusterman. This book is about a dystopian future where kids at the age of 13 are either kept by their parents or they are unwound, where their pieces of their body are removed and donated on to further use. This is a YA book. This book impacted me so much as a kid. It made me think about so many things, and it's honestly like one of the most disturbing dystopians that I've ever read in my life, and he does it so good. I've never read the rest of the series, so I'm hoping that once I make it to this one, rereading it again, I'm able to make it to the rest of the series, see what happens. I've only ever read this first one, but if you are looking for a absolutely devastatingly creepy ride through the psyche of people who would unwind children, there you go. Obviously, it's a YA, so it's not like the most disturbing thing that you can think of, so in a way, that makes it accessibly disturbing. Is that okay to say? Let me know if you remember this book and we can talk about it, because was Neil Shusterman okay when he wrote this? Because I don't know if he was. Is he okay now? I hope he is. Alrighty. Spooky, scary skeleton. Shivers down my spine. That's all my Halloween recommendations that I have for you for this year. You can subscribe. You can like, comment. I'd love to chat. I'm so bad at outros. Maybe if I just keep saying things like this, then the outro will be over. Happy Halloween.